So with that being said, this is your permission slip to put your health first, to say no, to ask for help, to carve out time for things that make you feel good and that support the life that you want to live. It's an important component because sometimes we often will look for external validation. We'll look for someone else to tell us, what we should be doing or what we should be working on. We'll ask, other people's advice or about other people's experience, and those are all great things to do. But ultimately, you really need to focus on listening to your own wisdom. You know yourself best, and you know what's right for you or what's good for you or what's healthy for you. And it's great to learn, it's great to consume information, it's great to reach out for help, but at the end of the day, you've got to be the one that lives with the choices that you make, and it's your life and your experience. And so just really give yourself permission to put yourself and your health first. So some other things to think about: there are 8 dimensions of wellness, and there are certainly more than 8 dimensions, but this is the model that I chose for our talk today. And it looks at intellectual and emotional health, physical and social health, financial and occupational health, spiritual and environmental health. And so, you can be doing really well in 1 or 2 domains, and in some of the other domains, you may need work. And you may need to create new habits, or you may need to create more self-awareness about those domains. And so it's important for you to decide where you want to focus your time and attention, because when people create new goals, when people want to make, lifestyle and habit change, a lot of times they just want to do an all or nothing approach. Either I'm going to do all of these things really well, or I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to go back to my old habits, my old ways. And so you want to just pick 1 or 2 domains to work on, because if you try to make change in all of these areas, it's not going to be sustainable. It's going to be overwhelming, and you're setting yourself up for failure. And I work with health and life coach clients a lot. I teach nursing here at the university. And I always tell my clients and my students and my patients when I'm in the hospital setting, we want to set you up for success. And setting you up for success means we need to really focus in on 1 or 2 areas where we can make the most difference. And then once we make those changes, we can move on to other things. For me, I always think physical health is where you probably want to start, maybe physical and emotional health, because those are the 2 areas that if you don't have good habits there, it's going to make it difficult for you to make changes in these other domains. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the presentation. So the 5 to thrive that I like to tell people to start with is these 5 principles here. Sleeping well, staying hydrated, striving for a healthy plate, moving your body every day, and meditation, or what I call brain breaks. So I have the start here pin, the GPS, because when you think about going from point A to point B, when you're going from maybe your home to a new place. I have a conference in Birmingham this week, and so I had to actually pull up the GPS app and look to see how long is it going to take me to get there. I've never gone to this part of Birmingham before. What is nearby? So I know, is there a gas station? Is there somewhere for me to grab, something to eat if I needed it? I kind of look at the surrounding areas of where I'm going. Is it a safe area? Is it an area that's close to somewhere else that I'm familiar with? You kind of look at the lay of the land, so to speak, and figure out, okay, what is this new destination going to be like? How long is it going to take me to get there? If you don't know where you're starting from, if you don't know that you're leaving from home, then you're not going to know what path to take to get to your end destination. And it's the same thing with our health and wellness journey, or any goal setting journey that we're on, because if you're not sure exactly where you are, it's going to be difficult to map out the road of where you need to go. And so when you're thinking about making habit changes, maybe going back to graduate school, maybe, going for a promotion, maybe it's something related to your personal life. It could be a health and fitness journey, couch to 5K, you name it. You've got to kind of know, okay, I've got the basics under control. So it's like our car. You've got to make sure that you've got what you need in your car. You've got to make sure that it's, drivable, that it's got gas to get where you're going. Same thing with our bodies. We're more complicated than a car. We're not robotic and we're not machines, but we've got to make sure that we're sleeping well. And that's more than just quantity of sleep. We say aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep as adults, but those need to be quality hours of sleep. You need to make sure that you're getting good rest during those hours. Staying hydrated, we say to drink 8-ounce glasses of water, so 64 ounces a day, but that's just a guideline. Today, we say more about half of your body weight in ounces a day. So if you're 200 pounds, we would say to drink about 100 ounces of water. The caveat there is that you want to make sure that you're not overhydrating, because you can get water toxicity. So we say not usually more than 128 ounces a day for most individuals. And so be thinking about what that could look like for you. If you're drinking no glasses of water a day, then you don't want to go and drink 8 glasses of water tomorrow. Build up to that, add a glass of water every day. You also want to think about, are you really hydrated? Because drinking water does not mean that you're hydrated. So at a cellular level in our bodies, you've got to make sure that those cells are actually getting the good water, nutrients, vitamins, minerals in where it needs to be. And drinking water is not always going to be enough. Sometimes you need some extra electrolytes and things like that. That's something that you need to talk to your healthcare provider about. If you notice that you're drinking 64 ounces of water, 100 ounces of water, whatever it is for you, and you're still feeling dehydrated, maybe you've got brain fog, maybe you still feel really thirsty after you drink, maybe it's that you have some of the other kind of classic signs that you're dehydrated, maybe you're not going to the restroom as frequently. Those are things that you need to think about. Maybe there's an electrolyte problem. You can work with your doctor, your advanced practice provider, like your nurse practitioner, and figure out, looking at blood levels and things like that. Do I need something more than just water? So strive for a healthy plate. Same thing. We always say you are what you eat, but I want to tell you, we are what we can digest and we are what we absorb. So we can eat a healthy plate of food, but if we don't have good gut health, our GI system is not functioning optimally, and we're not feeling like we're full and satisfied after a healthy meal, there could be some gut health issues going on, particularly for people who have autoimmune conditions or inflammation, especially chronic inflammation. You could be having some gut health issues. And so you could be eating a healthy plate, but not actually digesting the food properly and not actually using those, good nutrients and vitamins and minerals from that food. And so eat the rainbow, and I'm going to share more about that, but you want a colorful plate. A lot of times we just eat beige or brown or bland food. And if we want to feel really healthy, we'll eat something green. But a lot of times, if you can just add in some more color, you're going to be adding in different vitamins, nutrients, antioxidants, and that's going to help you with a better, healthier plate. You want to move your body every day, and that doesn't mean that you're doing, Orange Theory or CrossFit. If you're not doing any movement today, you're just, kind of pretty sedentary, you're just kind of going through the daily motions, you're not doing much more exercise than walking to and from point A to point B, then you don't want to go and join a fancy gym and do, a CrossFit, workout or a HIIT interval workout, high intensity interval training. You don't want to do that. It's kind of like we always say, couch to 5K, which is coming up here at UA. It really is about incremental changes and baby stepping your way. So if you're not doing any exercise today, but you want to start exercising, don't join the gym tomorrow. Just get some good, comfortable walking shoes and start walking for 10, 20 minutes a day. And then build up as you kind of get your body acclimated to that. You can start adding in more movement, more exercise. And then meditation. And I always say to start with 3 to 5 minutes of meditation in the morning and then add in more minutes. So work up to 5 to 10 to 15 minutes in the morning. Then maybe do some of that in the afternoon, and then maybe some before bedtime. So our bodies and our brains are not designed to hit snooze in the morning and then go all day, which we tend to do. I do that. And then at night, we try to flip our, our brains and our bodies off like a light switch and go to sleep. And then we say, well, we're really struggling with sleep. And it's because we've been moving constantly all day without giving our bodies or our brains a break. And I'm very guilty of that. So I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but it is something to think about. So now we're going to dive in a little deeper on each of the basics. So getting those Z's, quality of sleep, as we know is important, but we only really talk about quantity. So we say, oh, if you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night, you're doing great. You should feel wonderful in the morning. Well, we know that's just not the case for a lot of people. So yes, try to track how many hours of sleep you're getting. Look at when you're actually going to bed. For students, I always use this example with my nursing students. They'll stay up late studying for a test or, working on assignments, and they might be able to sleep in later because their day starts a little bit later than ours does in the typical, 8 to 4:45 schedule that we keep as faculty and staff. So they can get 8 hours of sleep in, but they're not getting it in the optimal hours. With our circadian rhythm that kind of guides our hormonal and sleep cycles, the hours of 10 p.m. to midnight are going to be those good hours to get good quality restorative sleep. And certainly you can get more restorative sleep throughout the sleep cycles as you progress. But if you're not going to bed and getting the good restorative sleep between 10 and midnight on a regular basis, you're going to feel really tired. And we're going to feel the effect of that because it's going to also impact the number of hours that we sleep, because we probably have to be on campus by 8 o'clock. But for other people who have more flexible schedules, it might not show up for them in the same way because they might still get 8 hours, but it's by sleeping later in the day. So think about that. It's why sometimes we sleep late in on Saturday or Sunday morning and we don't feel great. And we anticipate that all week. Oh, I'm going to get to sleep in on Saturday. And then we do that and we don't actually feel better. It's because it's not really what our body needs. If you need to catch up on sleep, studies show that it's better for you to go to bed early than to wake up later. So if you normally go to bed at 11 and you sleep until 7 or 8, so you're getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and you feel like you're missing a couple of hours, it would be better to go to bed at 9 and get those hours in the earlier part of the sleep cycle, and then wake up at the same time the next day. You also want to try to limit your blue light exposure, so that kind of white to blue glow that you get when you're in front of a computer screen or a phone or a tablet. You want to make sure that that setting is changed in your phone so that you have less blue light exposure. You can even use blue light blocking glasses that help block that exposure. You can get them at big box stores and places like Amazon for just a few dollars. They're not expensive. And that will help block that light that often will impact our circadian rhythm. So that light goes in and we interpret that as it's supposed to be time for us to be up and moving, and it's overstimulating to our brains because our bodies recognize those heavy light sources as a mechanism for waking up in the morning. So that's why it's so good to keep your room cool, dark, and quiet. So, having some noisemakers, making sure that it's really dark in your room, making sure that it's cooler, that's going to help your body get that good quality sleep that we're after. You can use things like earplugs if that's not a safety issue for you. If you're really, noise sensitive, which some people are, you could use a fan or a noise machine. There's a couple for under $30 on Amazon that I've looked at that have really good reviews. And you can pick if you're listening to, crickets or country sounds or, the ocean or just kind of noise in the background. Those can be really helpful. Shades and drapes that darken the room can be helpful as well. But in the morning, you want to make sure that you open the blinds and that you open the curtains so that you are getting that good morning exposure. When you're driving to work, this is my least favorite tip. Don't wear your sunglasses. I'm pretty photosensitive, so it's hard for me to not wear sunglasses when I'm outside. That's something that I need to work on personally, but don't wear your sunglasses on the way to work. Get that good morning sunlight, and that can be really helpful if you can actually get outside and get some sunshine in the mornings, particularly before 10 or after 2, where you're not worried about, the UVA, UVB exposure. then you can get out without sunscreen on and get those good vitamin D synthesis going and get that good restorative sunshine that can really help you with your sleep. So those are some things to try. There are a lot of other products and things that you can buy, but in nursing, we like to do the least invasive thing. We say that a lot. And so we try to do the thing that's going to not cost you money. It's not going to take a lot of your time. It's not going to be something that requires a lot from you. So we like to buy things, if we can Amazon Prime it, it's easier to add it to cart and buy the new sleep mask versus working on some of these other habit changes that are going to be more sustainable and better for you. But some things that you could buy in terms of products would be a sleep mask, or it would be a noise machine or a fan. You also can use medical grade lavender essential oil. That can be really helpful in terms of helping with sleep. There have been some studies that have shown that lavender is really helpful and soothing and can impact the quality of sleep really positively for a lot of people. So with hydration, just a deeper dive here, really setting a goal for your hydration is helpful. It's more than the 64 ounces. That's really the minimum, like I mentioned. But remind yourself to drink something every hour. We have our Apple Watches if you wear one. I personally don't, but maybe it tells you to get up and, move around or get up and breathe. Use that time to also get something to drink. I always tell people to have water with them wherever they go. I have mine sitting right here on the desk beside me, because when you talk a lot for work, when you're, using the heat a lot, which we are now that Alabama is having so much, cold weather and 30-degree temperatures, we're not used to that. And so it can be very dehydrating. So make sure that you're tracking your goal, that you have a good goal in mind, and try to use the drink half your weight in principle to see if that helps you. Now, for me, if I'm going to be having a pretty quiet day at my desk and I'm not going to be teaching or talking like I am today, then I might need less water. So for me, if I've got a busy speaking day, I've had a class, a meeting, this wellness talk, and then I'm doing another class this afternoon. So I'm going to have about 6 hours of talking today. I'm going to be very tired and I'm going to be very dehydrated today. So I know that I have to be more intentional about drinking water. I will need less water tomorrow when I'm just having a lot of, kind of office desk time and I'm not going to be speaking or moving as much. And so just know that this can fluctuate based on what your day looks like and based on what your body needs are, based on what you're eating, what you're drinking. If you've got more salt on board, of course, you're going to need more water. You're going to feel thirstier. So just keep track of that in maybe an app. It could be in a journal. It could be on the notes app on your phone. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or expensive, but just see, okay, on days like today, if this is a typical work day, how much water did I drink and how did I feel? And then, increase or decrease the water and see what changes. That's how you figure out what's best for you in terms of water. It also really works with nutrition and sleep. I always tell people to habit stack. If you haven't done my cultivating and creating good habits talk, you can go to the archived webinars on wellness.ua.edu and look at it. It is a class all about stacking your habits. So if you have a keystone habit like brushing your teeth in the morning, then you can stack a habit like taking your vitamins or supplements by putting the vitamins and supplements next to your toothbrush. Brush your teeth, take your vitamins. You've habit stacked. So every time you sit down at your desk, maybe you make sure that you refill your water bottle. I have a principle that, because I love coffee and coffee is not the best for you sometimes, every time I get a coffee, I'll also get a water. And so I have to drink the water if I'm going to have the coffee. Maybe it's that you take a sip of water, every time you have a commercial break at night, or, you get up and take a walk around and refill your water bottle in the afternoon. I'm just a couple of doors down from the vending machine, and a lot of people are at the vending machine at 3 p.m. when our cortisol and our hormones start to kind of change, and we're in that, kind of post-lunch slump in the afternoon. Instead of going to the vending machine, maybe you go and refill your water bottle. And make water fun. A lot of people don't like water. And if you don't, I don't like water by itself. I don't like plain water. I actually have, let's see if I can hold it up. I actually have a cup of water, but it has flavorings in it so that I don't have to just drink typical water. And you can use carbonated beverages. There's some that are better than others. So look at the nutrition label on the package. So carbonated water is completely fine. It's better than soft drinks and teas and coffees. But use herbs and fresh fruit, make it fun, make it something that you can do that's sustainable. With nourishing your body, you want to make sure that you're eating a balanced meal. And so if you really struggle with this balanced meal idea, I really encourage you to look at our nutritional services here at the university. We have some wonderful registered dietitian and nutritionists that can give you some great feedback on what you're eating and what your goals are. So they can do an assessment and tell you what your needs are in terms of your macros, and that's your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. And they can help you plan a balanced meal. They won't tell you what to eat, but they'll give you some good guidance and direction. And this is something that I did several years ago. We have Suzanne Henson, who works with faculty and staff members here, and she's a great source of information and support. You can see her through UMC, and you can call and set up an appointment. It's partially covered by our insurance, and there's a small copay, but it's a great way to get some good personalized nutrition information. For me, this is just going to be the basics of what you need to start with. So eat the rainbow. So eat all of the colorful foods. They represent different minerals and nutrients that you can only get from the reds or the oranges, etc. You want to make sure that at every meal and snack, you have a protein, a complex carb, and a healthy fat. And this is going to help with your energy levels. It's also going to help sustain, good blood sugar levels and keep you full and satisfied versus, just kind of loading up on carbs or just having some protein. If you have all three in moderation at every meal and snack, that can be really helpful. Now, you will see other people make recommendations about what this should look like. People often ask me about, keto-friendly diets or, paleo, and we can talk more about that. But this is just a good principle for you to follow if you're trying to start out making good choices. And in the question and answer box, someone asked, what is a healthy fat? Well, this might be controversial, but I would say healthy fats are going to be things like butter, real butter, not margarine, avocado. Those are going to be two of my favorites. You can have some healthy fats in terms of oils like coconut oil, but not the seed or vegetable oils. Those are not as healthy. You want to make sure that you're avoiding things that have trans fats in them. So if you look at the nutrition label and it says that there's a trans fat and it is something more than 0, try to steer clear of that, because trans fats sound like they're okay, but they're really human-made chemicals and preservatives. So instead of telling you that it's a preservative, it tells you it's a trans fat, and it sounds like it's natural, but it's just a chemical or a preservative that is being added to the food to make it something that can be shelf stable. So I would always go with butter or avocado as my healthy fat, because it's pretty easy to work that in any kind of meal, but there are certainly more examples. So track your meals and snacks with a food journal or an app. A lot of people like MyFitnessPal. You can get the paid or the free version, and I think either work great. I will tell you, I am not someone who, with my schedule, consistently tracks my meals. And so what I do instead is I eat basically the same few meals a week. Now, that is not my preference. I like variety in the things that I eat, but I eat the same types of meals and kind of sub out different things. So I might have yogurt and fruit, or I might have oatmeal and fruit, to be able to get some variety without having to really think about, are my macros working out? Because I'm not someone that wants to track calories and macros at every meal. And then I would encourage you to make one healthy change at a time. Again, going back to our domains of health, if you try to do all the things at all one time, you're going to get really frustrated and burned out, and you're not going to make progress on your goals. And you need some quick wins. So when you're making changes, do things that make it easy. So fill your water bottle up the night before, particularly if you've got a metal water bottle. like a hydro flask, you could fill it up the night before and it would still be cold and ready for you to go in the morning. Maybe you can get up and fix your water bottle and get out the door, but some of us can't. We're not in that season of life. And so do everything you can to make it easy. I'll give some more examples with exercise. It's really easy to set yourself up for good exercise. So with moving your body every day, again, it doesn't have to be formal exercise. It could just be a walk around the block after dinner, or it could be a walk on your lunch break, take a walk around the office. I do that sometimes when I have gotten tired of sitting in my office chair. I'll get up and I'll stretch my legs. But things like yoga, Pilates, walking, dancing, stretching, swimming when it's swimming weather, or maybe you're a member with an indoor pool. Those are all great ways to move your body without putting a lot of extra stress on your body. If you have any kind of health condition, chronic condition, autoimmune condition, then inflammation is going to be something you need to monitor, because when you start to exercise, a lot of times we gain weight when we step on the scale and we're distressed about it, but it's your body's kind of, mechanism for protecting yourself. You're gaining some fluid in terms of pounds to protect your body from the stress that you're really breaking down your muscles and building them back up, especially if you're doing a lot of strength training. So your body is giving you more fluid on board to help with that healing process. And that's great, but it's going to take some time for your body to get used to that. So you'll see the scale fluctuate a good bit if you're exercising. So most people are going to tell you to really focus on nutrition and hydration and sleep first. And then when you're good in those areas, you're in a good place, then add in more, kind of moderate exercise, but just daily movement. Parking your car a little bit further away. Don't park on the first row, park on the second. Take the stairs in. If you can't take the stairs up, take the stairs down when you're leaving for the day. Those are the kinds of things that you can start moving in, purposeful movement every day. I love Charles here at the university, who does a lot of our talks on fitness. He says, people will go and do an hour of CrossFit and then be really kind of, low activity, sedentary the rest of the day. And they think because they were really intensely working out 1 hour of the day, the other 23 hours, they were pretty sedentary, and they don't factor that in. And so they're like, why am I eating all of these good foods? And why am I doing CrossFit? And, I'm still not seeing the needle move. I'm not seeing the scale move. I'm not seeing, my fitness goals reached. It's because it's the other 23 hours you're not doing those things. So moderation is key. Doing things imperfectly is better than doing something perfectly one time a day. So keep that in mind, because sometimes we aim for that all or nothing perfectionistic mindset. All right. So our last deep dive into meditation, being mindful is so important. This is one that I think we all struggle with a little bit, because we just have so much that we could think about. And in an academic setting, we have a different way of working sometimes than others, because we are on a school year, calendar. We have, this kind of, living your life in semesters, where one semester feels different than the next. And that is true whether you're a faculty member or a staff member. Fall feels a little different than spring, and certainly it's different than summer. And so you can get in a good routine and rhythm, and then you have a semester or a holiday or a break, and you have that change, and then you've got to start over. Or Mondays might look different than the next Monday, and Monday looks different than Tuesday. So that can be hard, and that can really drain your brain of energy. About 25% of our caloric intake, so the daily calories that we consume, about 25% of those go to our brain. And it's because our brain is doing so much work to process everything. And what we do with our brains, the brain's designed to protect you and to look after you. And so it wants to keep you safe and happy. And so what it will do is it'll go into automated mode. It'll start doing things without you even really telling yourself consciously to do them, because you've always done them. And that's why habit change is so important, because about 50% of what we do every day is a habit that we don't think about. And so to protect our brain and to conserve energy, our brains will, drive home. Have you ever had that happen, where you drove home from work and you don't really remember the specifics of the drive and you think, oh my goodness, how did I make it home safely? It's because our brain has driven that path home so many times. It does it on autopilot, and we make it home safely because we haven't really had to think about it. We just did it. We just drove home. That is why sometimes we end up in a drive-through line getting a coffee or a Coke after work, because we've done it so much. We didn't really consciously turn the car into the driveway or into the drive-through, but we kind of just automatically did it. So it's important to be self-aware of those things and to make adjustments to our habits if we want to really have more margin for our brains to rest and for our bodies to take a break. So again, that 3 to 5 minutes, you can use an app. Some of my favorites are Calm and Headspace and Buddhify. Those are some great ones. My Life is another great one. And I love those because you can get free or in-app purchases. And, you don't have to do the extra things, but you can use those as a way to start meditation. But meditation could just be that you turn everything off and you just sit quietly for 3 minutes. That's meditation. It could be that you put on a soothing playlist, like Totally Stress Free on Spotify, and you just sit and listen to music for 3 to 5 minutes. Those are all ways that you can kind of start to meditate and take a break. So repeating positive affirmations are really important. I think sometimes we don't do these because it seems silly, but repeating something that feels positive every morning or before bed can impact our mindset and our mood. And so you can do a quick Google search and find many of those to, kind of incorporate in your day. This might be prayer, or it might be scripture, or it might be, devotions or poems. There's so many different examples of how you can include positive affirmations. It might be quotes. That's a favorite for me. I love to have a lot of positive quotes around. But be present in the moment. It's easier said than done, but I always say to be present where your feet are. And my feet aren't in the past and my feet aren't in the future. My feet are right here with y'all today, and kind of being present in the moment. How can I show up really well for where I am? I think that's important. We like to reminisce and we like to, think about fond memories, but so oftentimes now we live in the future. We're very rarely in the present. And so we're always kind of aiming for, okay, when I get to this milestone, or when I get this promotion, or when I get this house, or, when I retire. That's always a common one. When I retire, I'm going to do these things. So we're kind of living in that future present, kind of pool. And the thing is we've got to visit the past and we've got to visit the future, because we should reflect and we should plan for the future, but we've got to be able to enjoy the moment as well. We also need to be mindful of distractions. It's so easy to be distracted without realizing it. Before phones, I think we had to go and look for distractions. Now distractions are with us every day because we've got our phones with us. And, for a lot of us, we probably aren't aware of how much we're on our phones because it feels like we're being productive. But, mindlessly scrolling social media, or checking in on the news, or checking our apps or emails on our phones are with us a lot. So I would encourage you to look at how much time you're spending. You can get the weekly report that usually comes out on Sunday morning, unless you change the settings. You can see how many times a day, how many times an hour you pick up your phone, how many messages you're receiving and sending. It's just very informative and eye-opening when you think that you're being present, but then you see how many times you pick up your phone every hour. And then, like I said, just continue to work on those distractions. I think one thing we don't do often enough is laugh and play. And this one is here for me as a reminder, because when I'm really serious about something, to me, it's easier for me personally to be serious. It's easier for me to be serious than silly, is what I say. And so, laughing and playing and having fun, we're all just big kids. We all have an inner child we need to take care of and parent every day. And we like to laugh and we like to have fun and we like to play, and we don't do that nearly enough. And so this is a reminder for me. Hopefully it helps y'all too. But just try to find the humor in things and look for the good. I think the more that we look for the good, the more that we try to be kind, the more that we try to have fun, the more of that we're going to have. It's that confirmation bias that, when you're looking or thinking about a yellow car, then all you see are yellow cars, but statistically there probably aren't that many, but you see them all the time when you're thinking about them. If I tell you to think about Big Al, and then I say, okay, don't think about Big Al, everyone is imagining Big Al in their heads right now. It's the same thing. We have to kind of consider what we're thinking about and feeding our brains every day. So a mindset principle, it's called the GLAD technique. It's something that you can use for mindfulness. It's also helpful for journaling or practicing gratitude. You look at it every day, either in the morning or in the evening, and you say, okay, what's one thing I can be grateful for or thankful for today? What's one thing that I learned today? Hopefully you learned something or relearned something today in this talk. What's one thing I accomplished today? And what's one thing that, caused delight? What was one thing that made me laugh? What was one thing that caused me joy? Something that touched you today. And so you can jot down your glad moment for the day. And that is one way to do a gratitude practice or journaling if that feels like it's not something that would be easy for you to start. This could be a great technique to start that practice. And it really does help with your mindfulness. Make everything in life, like I said earlier, as easy as you can make it, whether it's cooking a healthy breakfast or it's exercising or it's reading more at night. One thing that I like to tell people, if you want to read more at night, put a book on your pillow so that you have to move the book to get into bed. If you want to send more thank you notes, have thank you notes where you would be likely to send them. So I have thank you notes at home, but I started sending a lot of thank you notes at work. So I brought thank you notes and all of the things that I would need to be able to do those. So I don't have to go home and think about, oh, I wanted to give so-and-so a thank you note. Now I just have those at home and at work. I actually even keep them in my car because, you never know when you need to thank somebody, a teacher or a friend or someone. And you may not be at home or at work. We live our lives on the go, I think. So just have the things that you need in place to make life easy. If you want to drink more water, you need to have your water bottle with you. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. So you at least need to, walk past them or step over them to not do the thing. Those are all great ways to kind of start to think about how can I make this easy? And this is all about habit stacking. So the WIN technique is something that mental health counselors use a lot. And, so many times the things that work are so simple that we feel like we don't need to try it. But when you are getting into a moment where you feel overwhelmed or you feel like life is happening to you and you're not moving forward on your 5 to thrive, then think about what's important now. We like to win. We like to be winners at the University of Alabama. We have a long history of being winners and champions. And so this is a great acronym for that. What's important now? So how can I win in this moment? What's important for me to do right now? I have to use that a lot if I'm starting to feel overwhelmed with my to-do list. I just have to do the next right thing. What's the next thing I need to do? My friend Summer Tucker has a success equation that she shared with me. She was actually my first health and life coach when I started my journey many years ago to losing weight. I lost 50 pounds over the last 3 years, and it was driven by a desire to want to show up as the best version of me that I could, to be a really present and engaged mom. I felt like I was sitting on the sidelines of my life because I had a lot of health problems that were chronic conditions unrelated to my weight, but I knew that was causing some additional stressors for my body. And I took this kind of approach when I was thinking about how can I be successful. And so she, really said it very simply. It's just consistency plus time plus your intensity. So how hard are you willing to work? Times your belief in yourself will get your results. And the belief in yourself is in a different color because it's really the most important point. Our belief about what we're going to be able to accomplish is more important than the tools and the resources and the formal education that we have. If you don't believe that you can accomplish it, then it's going to be difficult for you to overcome that kind of mindset. So consistently showing up imperfectly every day, right? If you drank 2 glasses of water today and you wanted to drink 6, that's okay. You wake up tomorrow and you try to drink 3. and you wake up the next day and you try to drink 4. And then at some point, if you're consistent, you're going to get to that goal. Every, kind of time that you show up consistently, you're putting in your time. So give yourself time. You didn't get to the point that you're at, wherever that is for you, overnight. And so it's going to take time for you to make some headway. And then your intensity is just your discipline, how you're going to show up and put in the effort every day. And your belief is that you're willing to change how you think about things, that you're willing to question those automatic negative thoughts that pop into our brain, and you're willing to question your assumptions about yourself and about your world. And that's when you're going to see results. And when you actually start to see results, that's going to build momentum. And that momentum is going to build that motivation, which will come and go. But if you've built the habits and the discipline around your goals, then you'll still show up even when you don't feel motivated. And motivation is going to wax and wane depending on what's going on in your life, how much sleep you've got, what you've got going on at work and at home. It's just all going to depend on so many things that you can't control. So positive reframing, you could even use neutral reframing. What I like about this is that it's an intentional way to journal and to think about your life. A lot of times people will say to just be positive. Well, if you were just more positive, I can't tell you how many times people have said that as a solution. And it feels a lot like a Band-Aid solution, right? Oh, well, your life has got all these problems. Well, if you were just more positive, then, everything would be great. To me, that felt really insincere when people would tell me that. And I've had some different struggles with, health and with parenting a special needs child. There's just been so many examples that I could give you personally. And people would say, well, just be positive, just think positive. And it felt very dismissive. And so I went back to Health and Life Coach Certification School to be able to learn more about this. And it comes from positive psychology. And it's a principle, it's called the coaching model, where your circumstances don't change, but your thought about your circumstances do. So if your circumstances are, and this is a scenario, y'all choose your own, but I'm trying to work or parent or go to school in the middle of a pandemic, whatever it is. This could be something else totally different. And when you say that, I want y'all to say that to yourselves. Whatever this statement is for you. I'm trying to parent in the middle of a pandemic. I'm trying to parent a special needs child while working full time. Fill in the blank. Then your thought is, wow, my life is so hard, or this is so hard, or this feels stressful, right? Then your feeling when you say that, when you say those two things, is that you do feel stressed and you do feel overwhelmed. And when you feel overwhelmed, a lot of times you're going to take no action. You're going to feel stuck and you're going to say, I just don't know what to do. I feel stuck. And then the result is going to be that life is stressful because you're not taking action on things and you're stuck in this cycle of overwhelm and not taking action. So if you can retrain your thoughts either to be a neutral or positive thought, and you can say, you know what, I've been through this before and I was fine, or I know I've got strong support, or I am strong. You can say something like, I'm strong, or I'm capable, or I can change things if I want. Give yourself back the power of control, right? So when you think that new thought, what I want you to notice is that the circumstance didn't change. Whatever you were doing that was hard is still hard. You're still going through that. If you could change the circumstance, you probably would have by now. Then the thought is, you know what? I am strong and I am capable and I can make change if I want. Then when you say that out loud. Don't you feel a little more hopeful? You feel a little more optimistic? And then when you feel hopeful and optimistic, instead of overwhelmed and stuck, you start to take action. You start to get to work. And when you take those little action steps, those baby steps to change, then your life does start to change. And it builds that positive momentum that we were talking about. So the idea is that you do this on paper and journal it out. And I was very resistant to that because keeping track of journaling and everything else, it just felt like another to do, right? It's why people don't do a gratitude practice, because they don't want to add another thing to their list. If something feels like a chore, you're probably negating the benefit of it. So make it fun. So I started doing this because I had to for my coaching certification. And what I noticed is that over time, when I would have a negative or unhelpful thought, a thought that was not serving me about my circumstances, I started to, after several months, started to correct myself and started to say, you know what, but I'm not going to feel that way. I'm going to focus on this because this is good in my life. And I would start to make those changes in my thinking automatically. I didn't have to stop. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to journal it. And it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to start doing this tomorrow because we talked about it today, but it can change over time. And it's one of the things, if you do nothing else, I think of all the things that I talk about in my Wellbeing content, this is the most impactful and powerful and potentially life-changing for you. It was for me. So again, make sustainable changes. If you won't do it for 3 years, don't spend 3 minutes on it. Make one change at a time. Try not to moralize, wellness or fitness or anything else in your life. We like to do good versus bad, but honestly, that doesn't usually serve us. Still, make progress. Small progress is still progress. Forward momentum is what you need. That's all. Baby step your way there. That's fine. Consistency is going to be key. Show up imperfectly every day versus perfectly a few times a week, and you're going to see how much progress you make. Notice your tendency to procrastinate or to perfect things. People who are perfectionistic tend to be the people who procrastinate. And people will tell you, oh, procrastinators are lazy. People who procrastinate usually aren't lazy. They usually are the people who are very perfectionistic, or maybe they have anxiety and they're delaying something that feels stressful. So procrastination is not a trait of a lazy person, quote unquote, right? We shouldn't be calling people lazy anyway. But perfectionistic tendencies and procrastination are coping mechanisms for something else. And so explore that if that's a challenge for you. It's a challenge for me. Challenging your limiting beliefs and negative self-talk. Sometimes you just need to be your own best friend and give yourself a pep talk every day. Build a community of support, and that's so important today. We really need people who are going to cheerlead for us and encourage us. We get enough negative feedback. We give ourselves enough negative feedback. Sometimes we're our own worst critic. So having a community of people who support you and love you and know you, that's crucial. Track and journal, take photos if you're doing a health and fitness journey. Even if you're doing something like making progress on goals, taking photos can be really helpful. For me, last night we had an event at the College of Nursing, and I have always struggled with body image issues and disordered eating. It's not something that I share my journey a lot publicly, but I think it's a good example here. And last night I was walking away. I hadn't even planned to share this story, by the way, y'all, but feel led to. I was walking away and I thought, I really want to take a picture with Big Al. I never take the opportunity to do that, but I'm afraid of how I'm going to look in the photo. And then I walked away. I got halfway to the door and I turned around and I was like, what kind of example is that leading, even though no one knows that thought? How silly. If I want to take a photo, it doesn't matter what I look like. I want the photo with Big Al. So I went back and I got my friend to take the photo, and I posted it on my social media last night. And it was such a proud moment because a few years ago, I would not have taken that photo with Big Al because I would have been worried about criticizing the picture, or I would have been worried about my body image, or, what if someone thinks something about the photo? And that can sound really silly, but for someone who has disordered eating or who has body image issues, that's something that we deal with every day. And so that was a huge milestone for me. So taking photos isn't just about, before and after pictures. Sometimes it's just capturing a moment where you really showed up well for yourselves. So that was what I wanted to share. Hadn't planned on that, but maybe that will inspire and encourage someone on the call. Make the next right choice. Don't wait until tomorrow or next week. Always start today. Stay encouraged because progress is not linear. We think that progress is a straight line from point A to point B, but so oftentimes it's a spiral. And when you feel like you're spiraling and you're circling and you're not making progress, sometimes it's that you are making progress, but you're spiraling up. It's not always a downward spiral. So I often ask myself, and I have others in my life who will ask me this too, if I say I had a bad day, I'll have them ask me if I can't do it myself in the moment. I'll say, was it a bad day or was it a bad 5 minutes? Was it a stressful 5 minutes? And a lot of times our bad days are just a few minutes, but we ruminate on those. all day and we revisit those emotions. So if that's a struggle for you, reach out. I'll be happy to share some resources. But that's sometimes something that you have to stop that cycle of revisiting, because when you revisit a stressor, you're going to also bring those emotions back up too. So here's a habit tracker that you can grab at Paper Trail Design for free. It's a great one to track your wellness habits. And I just want to remind you that finding balance looks different for everyone. So for everyone on the call, we're all going to have different goals, different challenges, different perspectives and worldviews, different life experiences. And your journey may look different from your neighbor or from, even your spouse or partner or family member or best friend, but continue to work on the things that will help you be successful, and start with those 5 to thrive. So that is our presentation. We would love for you to follow us on social media. I'm going to answer some questions if y'all have those. But thank you all so much for spending probably your lunch hour with us today. We really appreciate it. Y'all are welcome to put your questions or comments or feedback in the chat or in the Q&A. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Thanks to all of the friends who are commenting in the chat. Happy to answer any questions. Would love your feedback. Yes, we can provide the presentation to you. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. Any questions, comments, anything I can answer? Any challenges y'all need help troubleshooting? Be happy to do it. We've got a couple of minutes. I don't mind staying over. And if you need to go, that's completely fine. You've been counted for your credit for Wellbeema. Awesome. Yeah, we'll get that presentation out to y'all. I'll share it with Miranda. All right. Well, seeing no other questions, I sure do appreciate you spending your hour with me. I know it's hard to carve that time out. Thanks for your patience as I was having a bit of a delay getting on today, but we certainly want to be of service to y'all. So if you have other ideas for classes or needs that we can help you meet through the Office of Wellness and Work Life, please reach out to us. We're happy to hear that feedback. And if we can support you in any way, let us know. We offer health and life coach certification and classes and things, or support services for y'all. So you can reach out to me about that. And my email is here at the bottom. So thank y'all so much for joining us. I hope y'all have a great rest of your week.